If your songs feel a little flat, or they just don't hit the way your favourite records do, there are a number of reasons for this. But instead of just talking through some basic songwriting concepts, let's look at a professional arrangement and production using Graywind's track Waterfall, produced, engineered and mixed by Sam Guaiana, who's also worked with bands like Neck Deep and Silverstein. And thanks to the band for providing me with the actual stems, I can show you exactly what's going on under the hood. One big concept that often gets overlooked when you're brand new to recording and arranging is the use of the stereo field, meaning what gets placed in the middle and what gets pushed out towards the sides. While it's easy to get preoccupied with recording the best takes, coming up with interesting chord progressions, and so on, another thing you should really consider is how to build out your song in terms of the stereo image. This song is a perfect example. During the opening verse, right up to the pre-chorus, as a listener, you're not really hearing much stereo information, outside of the occasional vocal delay throw. This is because the vocals, drums and bass are all kept centered and make up the vast majority of the verse arrangement.
The catalyst of my sorrow, a heart shape left on the window.
Things open up slightly during the pre-chorus when the low string guitar riff is introduced, panned slightly to the right hand side. Though it's primarily still focused on a more monocentric sound. Then, as a payoff to the more mono-focused arrangement of the first few sections, you get this comparatively huge sounding chorus, where the stereo width is fully utilised by a much denser arrangement. This contrast instantly makes the chorus feel larger than life, not because it's just louder, but because of the difference in width. If you're producing your own tracks, think of the stereo image as a tool for emotional impact. Keep things narrow when you want it to feel intimate or restrained, and then widen things out when you reach the peak of your arrangement. Which brings me on to my next point, how to actually arrange things in a more dense way to bring this sense of impact to your own productions. A lot of this comes from a heavy use of layering, along with introducing new and contrasting sounds that haven't yet featured in the song, something the band does really effectively during the chorus. Looking at the guitars specifically, the wall of sound style comes from layering different chords, techniques and tones to create one huge sound. The chorus features a 6-part guitar arrangement, which you can separate into 3 key layers. First, the main rhythm guitars playing full chord voicings with a brighter, more open sounding tone. Then a pair of heavier rhythm tracks, playing simple power chords and holding down more of the low mid-range of the arrangement, adding real density to the overall sound. And finally, a pair of octave tracks, switching back and forth between 2 single octaves, adding additional harmony to the guitar parts that came before. When played together, they create this heavy, wide sound, a complete contrast to the more skeletal verse and pre-chorus guitar arrangements. By carefully choosing different timbres and techniques to fill different parts of the frequency spectrum, you add a new dimension to your productions. You're now being hit with a completely new sound palette compared to what's come before, so it sounds fresh and exciting from a listener's perspective. This leads me on to my final point, arrangement dynamics. While the track is mastered loud, the song still has room to breathe, thanks in part to the choices made in the arrangement phase. The verses strip back to the essentials, vocals, a minimal drum beat and bass. Until you finally reach the chorus, you've not been introduced to much more than this. So even though the actual jump in volume isn't overly dynamic, the contrast in arrangement density is. This is especially highlighted in the pre-chorus, where up until this point, the bass has grounded the track. It's then entirely removed during this section, so suddenly you lose a lot of the low-end weight that was present in the verse. This creates a more open, spacious feeling, which in turn gives the chorus section much more impact when the bass is brought back in. big thank you again to Greywind for letting me use their track for this mini production breakdown. You can stream the full song from the link in the video description, and then watch this video next if you want to learn what to play to create similarly dense guitar arrangements.